America, they speak of the Bermuda Triangle, an expanse of ocean where ships disappear, planes vanish, and entire crews are lost to the unknown. That mystery became legend, a permanent fixture in the map of fear. But Ireland has a triangle of its own. Here, the disappearances didn't happen in the sky or at sea. They happened in small towns, on quiet roads, and sometimes in broad daylight. They involved no storms, no wreckage, and no survivors. Between 1993 and 1998, 8 women vanished from an area stretching across counties Dublin, Wicklow, Kildare, Lough, and Wexford. These were not isolated incidents. These were not easily explained. One by one, women went missing. They were young, independent, and most were last seen alone. No bodies were ever found, no crime scenes, no suspects who held up under scrutiny. The only common thread? They disappeared without a trace. Journalists were the first to give this phenomenon a name. They called it the Vanishing Triangle, a nod to the Bermuda mystery, but with an even more intimate horror. Because these weren't distant sailors or pilots. They were daughters, sisters, girlfriends, mothers-to-be. They were everyday people living quiet lives. Until they weren't. The disappearances sparked fear across the region. In towns like Tullamore, Dundalk, and Newbridge, people began locking their doors before dark. Women stopped hitchhiking. Parents warned their children not to walk alone. The countryside, once familiar, began to feel like something else entirely, a place that watched and waited. In 1998, the Irish police launched Operation Trace, a national effort to connect the dots. It was one of the largest missing persons initiatives in the country's history. But even with that attention, no clear link was ever found. No single suspect, no shared cause, just 8 women gone, and a nation left to wonder whether it had been watching a predator move in plain sight. What happened to these women? Was it the work of a serial killer, a trafficking ring that went undetected? Or were these tragedies somehow unconnected, linked only by time, geography, and absence? We may never know, but if we want to understand this mystery, we have to go back to where it began, back to the first woman who vanished, to the moment the stillness cracked, Annie McCarrick, the first to disappear. Before I could tell this story, I needed to meet the man who'd been living inside it for decades. They said he was retired, said he didn't talk much anymore, but when I found him, buried behind old case files and the smell of wet coats, he said something I never forgot. It's not that I don't talk, it's that no one wants to listen. He never gave me his full name. He just asked me to call him what everyone else did back then, detective. And when I asked him where it began, he slid that photo across the desk and said,
Her, Annie. She was the first.
In the spring of 1993, the first woman vanished. Her name was Annie McCarrick. She was 26 years old, born in Long Island, and had moved to Ireland to study and explore her heritage. She was living in Sandymount, just south of Dublin, and on March 26th, she was supposed to meet friends for dinner. She never arrived.
I remember that date, Mr. Contour. It came across my desk like a routine missing person call. Young woman, American, known to be friendly. She took out cash at the ATM on Sandymount Road at 11:02 a.m. That's the last confirmed moment we have. After that, it's all theory.
Some witnesses claimed they saw her later that day in Enniskerry, near the Wicklow Mountains. Others say she may have been headed to Johnny Fox's pub, a well-known spot perched high in the hills, but no one can say for sure whether she ever arrived.
That's the thing. The reports were soft, vague times, uncertain faces. Maybe it was her, maybe it wasn't. We followed every one of them, but nothing stuck. If she was there, she left no footprint.
Wicklow is known for its beauty, ancient woods, winding trails, a place people escape to. But it's also the kind of place where someone could disappear without ever being seen again.
Exactly. That landscape, it doesn't give back what it takes. Once you're off the main road, it's just trees, stone, and silence.
What was the working theory at the time?
At first, we thought maybe she got lost. Maybe she had a fall, hit her head. We sent out searches, dogs, foot patrols. Nothing turned up, but by the end of the first week, we knew it wasn't an accident. There was no trace of her anywhere. Not a shoe, not a scrap of clothing. That kind of clean doesn't happen by mistake.
Her parents flew in from the States. They held press events. They handed out flyers. They refused to let her disappear quietly.
They were relentless. I still remember her mother's voice, calm but cracking around the edges. She wasn't asking if Annie was dead. She was asking where we were looking. And honestly, I didn't have a good answer.
Years passed. The case grew cold, and then others began to vanish.
That's when it started to twist in the gut. When Annie disappeared, we thought it was tragic. By the time the third or fourth woman went missing, we realized we weren't chasing one bad night. We were standing in the middle of something bigger, and we were late to the scene.
Her case was reclassified as a murder investigation in 2023, but to this day, no suspect has ever been charged.
We missed the window. If someone took her, and I believe someone did, they had the whole country and 30 years of silence to cover their tracks.
Annie McCarrick was the first known disappearance in what would come to be called the Vanishing Triangle. She would not be the last.
She was the one we were supposed to bring home, and we didn't. That stays with you.
Annie's case left us with questions, but before they could find a single answer, another woman vanished, just months later, not from a mountain trail or lonely highway, but from her own apartment in Dublin. 4 months after Annie McCarrick vanished, another woman disappeared, this time from Terranure, a quiet neighborhood just southwest of central Dublin. Her name was Eva Brennan. She was 39 years old, quiet, independent, private. On July 25th, 1993, Eva left her parents' home after a family lunch. She never made it back to work, and she never contacted anyone again.
We didn't know what we were looking at first. Eva wasn't a teenager. She didn't have a lot of friends. She lived alone, kept to herself. No signs of trouble, no history of violence. She walked out the door after Sunday dinner and vanished between one end of the street and the other.
When her family reported her missing, the Gardaí checked her flat. The door was locked. Her purse was there, her keys. But there was something else. Something small, but deeply unsettling.
Her jacket, the one she always wore. It was still hanging by the door. She didn't go anywhere without it, not even to the shop. And we found her diary, untouched. No entries after that Sunday. It was as if she'd stepped out for a second and just never came back.
There were no signs of a break-in, no signs of a struggle. No neighbors reported anything unusual.
That's the part that rattled me. Everything in that apartment said she meant to return, but she didn't.
Eva Brennan's case didn't get the same level of media coverage as Annie McCarrick's. There were fewer leads, no dramatic setting, no tourist intrigue, just a woman who disappeared in the middle of her life and left no clue behind.
We were chasing ghosts. I walked those streets in Terranure every day for weeks. Talked to locals, shopkeepers, postmen. Everyone liked Eva, but no one had seen her. Eventually, her case slid to the back of the shelf, but I never forgot that jacket.
Do you believe she was taken?
Yes, and I think the person who took her was calm, precise, someone who could see the cracks in a person's life and knew how to slip between them. With Annie, we had a landscape. With Eva, we had a locked door and a missing woman who hated being late for work.
In the summer of 1993, Eva Brennan became the second woman to vanish in unexplained circumstances. She wouldn't be the last, but her case marked something different, quieter, a disappearance with no wilderness, no journey, no witnesses, just a door left closed and a life left open.
There's something cruel about Eva's case, the way she slipped out of sight so gently, like she was erased instead of taken. If Annie was a crack in the glass, Eva was the moment it started to spread.
With Eva, we lost someone behind a locked door. With the next case, it was a woman seen in motion. She was crossing a street in daylight, in the heart of a city. It felt safe until it wasn't. January 3rd, 1994. The holiday lights were still fell-ickering in Waterford when Imelda Keenan, 22 years old, walked out of her flat on William Street. She told her boyfriend she was going to the post office. She never came back.
I don't think I'll ever forget the stillness of that street. It was cold, damp, the kind of morning that feels like the town is holding its breath. Imelda Keenan walked out the front door and disappeared in less than 300 feet.
She was last seen crossing the road near the corner of the Tower Hotel. A man working nearby reported seeing her around lunchtime. She was walking fast, head down, like she was trying to get somewhere. That was the last confirmed sighting.
It's one of those cases that feels like it's mocking you. We had a timeline, we had a known route, but we didn't have her. She just vanished in daylight, in a city, in front of people.
Imelda was originally from Mount Mellick in County Louise. She'd moved to Waterford to study, but her life had been turbulent. She'd left college, bounced between addresses, and was reportedly dealing with personal struggles. But on that day, nothing appeared out of the ordinary.
She had her quirks, sure. She was trying to get her life back on track, but that doesn't make her disposable. And it sure as hell doesn't mean she deserved to be forgotten. We searched every alley, every entryway. We spoke to the fishermen down at the quay, hotel staff, the markets. Nothing, not even a rumor worth chasing.
Unlike Annie and Eva, there wasn't much media coverage for Imelda. She didn't have international family. She didn't have a strong public presence. But the silence around her case may say more about how some victims are perceived than how they disappear.
I hated how quick people were to dismiss her, said she probably ran off, got tired of it all. But you don't just vanish like that, not without leaving a thread, and there was no thread.
She walked into a winter morning. She crossed the street, and then it was as if the city swallowed her whole.
Imelda was the third, and that's when I knew. This wasn't coincidence anymore. This was something else, something that didn't care about class or age or where you came from. Something that watched, that waited, that chose carefully.
January 1994 marked the third unexplained disappearance of a young woman in less than 10 months. It happened in broad daylight, in a busy town, with no answers.
And once you see three vanish that way, you start to realize you're not chasing missing persons anymore. You're chasing a shadow.
Imelda's story added weight, but it was JoJo's voice we heard. A phone call in the dark, a girl trying to get home, and then silence. It was the moment fear became undeniable. On November 9th, 1995, 21-year-old Josephine JoJo Dullard was trying to get home. She was running late, low on cash, and had missed her bus from Dublin. She did what many young women still did in Ireland in the 90s. She started hitchhiking.
That was a hard one. JoJo felt close, you know? She was still moving, still trying to reach someone, still on the line. We weren't chasing a ghost. We were chasing the last known location of a girl who was doing everything she could to get home.
JoJo had left Dublin earlier that evening. She made it as far as Moon, County Kildare, a small town surrounded by pitch, black back roads and quiet fields. She stopped at a phone booth around 11:30 p.m. and called her friend. They talked briefly. The line crackled. Then JoJo said something that still echoes, and the line went dead.
That's the moment. That one sentence. It's like a scream pressed between glass. We know she got in the car. We just don't know who was driving it.
That was the last time anyone heard her voice. JoJo Dullard was never seen again.
We traced everything. The last buses, the phone records. We interviewed truckers, locals, even people who claimed they saw her near Castle Dermot. But all we had was that damn booth.
The geography matters. JoJo had made it far, roughly 80 kilometers from where she started. She was close to her destination, Kilkenny, but she never arrived.
And this one felt different. With Annie, Eva, and Imelda, it was silence. But JoJo left a sound behind, a voice, a moment of presence. She was in the middle of something when she disappeared. That phone call, it's not just eerie, it's proof that someone was there.
Her family didn't rest. They kept her name alive, through media, through interviews, through vigils. Her sister, Mary Phelan, became one of the loudest voices calling for answers in every one of these disappearances.
Mary's a force. She made people pay attention to what was happening, because up until JoJo, people could still believe these cases weren't connected. But this one, it was different. It was loud, and it left a scar.
It would take 25 years for JoJo's case to be reclassified as a murder investigation. That came in 2020, decades after her voice faded into the static of that call.
I can still hear her. Every time I see a phone booth, I think of JoJo, alone, in the dark, making one last call, and putting her trust in the wrong person. That booth should have been a line home. Instead, it became her goodbye.
With JoJo Dullard's disappearance, the Vanishing Triangle was no longer theory. It was geography. It was evidence. It was real.
At this point, the list of missing women wasn't just long. It was starting to feel deliberate. We weren't chasing accidents anymore. We were chasing a pattern, and something, or someone, was always just a step ahead.
With JoJo, we had sound without sight. With Fiona, it was the opposite. We saw her preparing for life, for birth, for motherhood, and then she was gone. 2 lives lost before they ever had a chance to begin. On the 23rd of August, 1996, Fiona Pender was 7 months pregnant. She had recently moved into a flat on Church Street in Tullamore, a Midlands town far from the Wicklow trails, far from the coast, far from Dublin. This time, the disappearance happened in the middle of a known place, a neighborhood, a life. She was 25 years old, and the baby, her first, was due in just a few weeks.
Fiona's case, it still hits different. She was carrying a child. That changes everything. It shifts the weight of the room when you talk about her. You're not just looking for one person, you're looking for 2.
She had visited her mother the night before, had tea, talked about the baby, the future, small things. Her boyfriend walked her home, said goodnight. By the next morning, she was gone.
It was like the air had folded around her. There were no signs of forced entry, no calls, no struggle. The bedroom was untouched. Her maternity bag hadn't been packed. There was nothing to suggest she had planned to go anywhere, but she was gone, and so was the baby.
Her disappearance devastated the town. She was well known. Her family was respected. Her brother Mark was a member of the Gardaí, and yet, for all their resources, no trace of her was ever found.
We scoured every inch of that area. Fields, construction sites, canals. We talked to people she hadn't seen in years. Every hour we didn't find her, the wait got worse. Because there was a clock on this one. You knew if she was out there, she didn't have long.
Her mother, Josephine, kept the search alive for decades. She fought for answers, for visibility, for dignity, but the silence never broke.
I remember her mother said something to me once. She said, "I don't even know if I should set a place for her anymore." That stuck with me, that kind of grief, when hope becomes its own kind of torture.
Fiona was the 4th confirmed case in the region. By now, locals were using the phrase, Vanishing Triangle. But this case marked a shift. This wasn't a lone traveler. This wasn't a hitchhiker. This was a woman, at home, carrying a life inside her, and she still vanished.
That's what kept me up. If someone could walk into her flat and take her and not leave a single trace, then there were no rules left. There was no safety in daylight or suburbia or pregnancy. Whoever did this, they weren't rushing. They were confident, and they were calm.
Her body has never been found. The child was never named. There are no suspects, no confessions, only questions.
She had picked out baby clothes. I saw them hanging in the wardrobe, still on the hangers. It's not just a missing person file, it's a void, one that gets wider the longer you stare at it.
We thought the pattern had reached its edge, but it hadn't reached home yet. Not until a 17-year-old girl vanished from her own bedroom window. No wilderness, no pub, no road, just a mother waking up to a life undone. In the early hours of February 13th, 1997, 17-year-old Ciara Breen slipped out of her bedroom window. Her mother was asleep down the hall. Her bed was left rumpled, the window slightly ajar. No one heard a sound.
She was a good kid, bright, private, bit stubborn. But what teenager isn't? That night, she said goodnight to her ma'am. Nothing strange. They watched some TV, talked about school, normal. Then she waited for the house to fall still, and she left.
Ciara had no history of running away. There were rumors, of course, about a boy, about sneaking out to meet someone, but there's a difference between sneaking out and never coming back.
You could tell right away this wasn't rebellion. This wasn't a night out gone wrong. It was clean, too clean. No sightings, no messages. Her friends didn't know where she was, and whoever she went to meet didn't bring her back.
Her mother, Bernadette, woke up the next morning and knew something was wrong. The bed untouched, the window open, no shoes missing, no clothes taken, just Ciara gone.
That window haunts me. It was a soft exit. She trusted the person she was going to meet, and whoever that person was, they used that trust to erase her.
Ciara's mother has never stopped searching. She's gone door to door, appealed on national TV. She's waited in silence longer than most could bear.
Every year she calls, asks if there's anything new, if maybe someone talked, and every year I have to say no. It's the worst part of this job, carrying someone else's grief and having nothing to give back.
In 2015, nearly 2 decades later, a man was arrested in connection with Ciara's disappearance, but he was released without charge. There wasn't enough to hold him.
We had our suspicions, still do, but suspicion doesn't close a case, and it doesn't bring a girl home.
By now, the pattern was undeniable. 7 women, 7 disappearances, each one different, but linked by the same silence.
Ciara was the youngest, still figuring out who she was. She deserved a life, a future, a chance to make mistakes and grow from them. Instead, she vanished into the cold, and we're left staring at that window, wondering who stood outside it.
Ciara was the youngest, but Fiona Sinnott was the last, at least officially. A young mother, a short walk, a night that swallowed her. And with her disappearance, the triangle closed, but the silence only deepened. February 9th, 1998. In a small village on the Wexford coast, 19-year-old Fiona Sinnott leaves a pub after a night out. She had been with friends. She laughed. She danced. She left on foot, heading toward her rented bungalow on the edge of town. She never arrived.
That stretch of road, it's only about 15 minutes long. You could walk it in less time if you were cold, or if something didn't feel right, but Fiona didn't make it home.
Fiona was the mother of an 11-month-old baby girl. She lived quietly, worked part-time, kept to herself. Her daughter was staying with Fiona's mother that night, just a short break from routine, and Fiona never came back to collect her.
We were already on edge by 98. Too many names, too many photos on too many boards. When we got the call about Fiona, I remember thinking, not again.
Her boyfriend claimed he walked her part of the way home. He said they parted ways near her driveway, but no one else saw her. No one saw anything.
The stories didn't line up. Some said there was an argument. Others said she was fine. What I know is, nobody reported her missing for a full week. And in this kind of case, a week is the difference between truth and legend.
When Gardaí finally entered Fiona's home, they found her belongings untouched. Nothing was packed, nothing cleaned out. She had not planned to go anywhere.
You get used to the signs. When someone walks out by choice, there's always something left behind. A note, a pattern, a plan. Fiona left none of that. She left a life unfinished. She left a daughter with questions no one's ever been able to answer.
Fiona Sinnott's disappearance marked the final confirmed case within the Vanishing Triangle. From 1993 to 1998, 8 women disappeared. No bodies, no charges, no resolution.
And for Fiona, the silence hit harder. Because now we weren't just talking about women. We were talking about children who would grow up not knowing what happened to their mothers.
The triangle was now drawn, not with lines, but with absences. Each point a life taken, a story interrupted.
We were always too late, too little, too scattered, too trusting in the quiet. The trail is cold now, but the names still burn.
Annie, Ava, Imelda, Jojo, Fiona Pender, Sierra Breen, Fiona Sinnott. 8 women, 8 vanishings, no answers.
And for every one of them, a file still sits on a shelf. The ink's faded, but we're still reading, still waiting, still listening for something to break the silence.
8 stories, 8 disappearances, each unique but none accidental. Now we step back to see the shape they left behind and what that silence has yet to say. From 1993 to 1998, 8 women vanished without a trace across counties Dublin, Wicklow, Lowes, Kildare, Offaly, Waterford, and Wexford. A pattern emerged, but no one could or would connect the dots.
I've seen missing person cases, dozens, maybe more, but this was something else. These weren't people falling through cracks. This was someone or something pulling them through.
They called it the Vanishing Triangle, a nod to the Bermuda Triangle, that strange corner of the Atlantic where vessels vanish without explanation. But here in Ireland, it wasn't ships or planes. It was women. And instead of open ocean, it was winding roads and quiet fields.
And whoever was out there, they didn't need fog or storms to cover their tracks. They just needed us to look the other way.
In 1998, the Gardaí launched Operation Trace, an effort to find commonalities, to chase leads that had grown cold. Over time, attention narrowed in on one man, Antonio "Tony" Luciano, an American man known to have interacted with at least one of the victims, Annie McCarrick. He had been questioned, denied involvement, and for decades no charges were brought, until 2023, when Annie's case was officially upgraded to a murder investigation.
Tony Luciano was always on our radar, but there wasn't enough. No body, no confession, no forensic gold, and time lets people slip away.
Luciano has never been charged in connection with Annie's disappearance or any of the other women. But in the void of justice, suspicion lingers, and the longer these stories go unanswered, the more room there is for shadows to grow. Today, the triangle still exists, not just on a map, but in memory, in homes where chairs were never moved, in birthday cards that never got sent, in mothers who are still asking why.
There were 8 names, 8 women, and behind them, 8 dozen more who slipped through the cracks of record, keeping of news cycles, of priority lists. The triangle may be what we call it, but it was always bigger than that.
Annie, Eva, Imelda, Jojo, Fiona Pender, Ciara, Fiona Sinnott. 8 lives, no bodies, no convictions, only questions.
And behind every question is a face. We owe them more than silence.
The Bermuda Triangle captured imaginations because it erased people without a trace. The Vanishing Triangle haunts us because it happened right in front of us, and we still couldn't stop it. This is not just a story about disappearance. It's about what happens when no one is listening, and what must change so it never happens again. Thank you for listening. There will always be more tales to be told, so please remember to stay safe, treat each other well, and, if you could, like and subscribe.